Hey, what's up, everybody? On today's episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing one of the biggest names in the game. He's done over $500 million in real estate. He's created a mega team and he's dominated the market for almost 2 decades. If you want to know how to lead gen, create a super team, and be one of the strongest agents in the game, stick around. You won't want to miss this episode. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wallet Watch. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all the love and all the support. As you know, Wallet Watch is a platform we put together to talk about real estate, entrepreneurship, and all things financial. Speaking of real estate, we've got a special guest for you today, one of the biggest names in the game. He's been dominating the Dallas market for almost 2 decades. I want to welcome to the show my friend and partner, Damon Williamson. Damon, welcome, brother.
Oh, thanks for having me, Brian. Seriously, I'm very happy to be here.
Good, man. It's a long time coming. I'm excited to sit down and chat with you, dude. So 2023, interesting market. You've been doing this for almost 20 years, and you've seen a lot. You've done a lot. So kind of tell me where you and your group are at and how you're feeling about 2023 so far.
Right now, I think it's kind of a hybrid of what it used to be back in the 2020, 2021 range. 2022 was a little bit of a hiccup year. So 2023 now, we're kind of in this, kind of like this happy little medium. Mm-hmm. There's still multiple offers going on. There's still tons of opportunity out there in the market for people to buy. I, believe it or not, was in a multiple offer situation, which I was shocked by this because, I'm like, running around buyers and, there's maybe an offer or two and, we're like, okay, well, we don't have to go nuts on this. But I was in a multiple offer situation with 15 offers for a house that was right around $1 million. And it was over there in like Northwest Dallas, that 75229 zip code, like right outside of Preston Hollow. House was nice. Nothing crazy. I'm looking at this house like, hey, this is a good opportunity for the buyer. Perfect fit for like really what they're looking for. Was it over the top? No. Was it a good house for the money? Yes. But I call and I'm like, we're going to make an offer. And she's like, okay, we got 13. And I'm like, so we would be 14. She said, yeah, but I'm expecting 2 more.
Wow.
So I'm like, what is happening with this? That was a shocking kind of moment, but that is also a one-off.
Right.
Like I'm not seeing that everywhere. Like I'm actually under contract with a bunch of properties right now for buyers and my own listings, which was one offer.
Right.
We were the only ones.
Right.
But we, it depends on the location, depends on the area. Everything right now is just literally per house, per neighborhood, per area basis. It's not across the board kind of thing, which I think is good. We've been in these markets before. And I think for a lot of people, this market is not as stressful.
Sure.
Because the stress part of it, for a lot of buyers really put them out of the market.
Right.
And, the rates are obviously doing what they're doing. We know this. Everybody knows this. And some people are still fighting with that rent versus own, situation because in 2022, we probably had per capita more people rent or even in 2021 rent versus going those 20, 30, 40 offer situations, pay $100,000, $200,000. I even heard one the other day was $800,000 over list from an agent because she was like, my clients will sell off market. And I said, well, which house is it? And she told me. And then I was like, well, that one just sold in 2021. And she's like, yeah. Wow. They want to sell. And I said, well, what do they want? Because I looked it back up in 2021, it was like $2.2 million.
Gosh.
She said, well, they want to get $3 million for it just to get out what they got into it. I'm like, wait a second. They went $800,000 over list back then? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, we're out. We're not going to do that.
Damn.
So, that's the struggle. There's a lot of people that are coming up right now that rented, that their leases are up again. And we're in that kind of like, should I release? My rent's going up if I release. So where's that little happy medium that we can buy versus rent and not have to pay the extra rent right now? I'm sure you're hearing that as well.
Yeah, I tell everybody I equate this market to a hot pocket that you pull out of the microwave a little too quick. It's hot, but it's kind of frozen in a couple areas, and that's the way that this market is. It's it's getting more ripe, it's getting ready, but it's not 100% consistent. I agree. For the people who don't know out there, Damon's been doing this again for almost 2 decades, and he's been in this market. So he's seen the subprime crash, he's seen the comeback, he's seen the Dallas growth. He went through the COVID run. He's got an incredible team. We'll talk about that stuff here in a minute. And so, there's nothing that he hadn't seen, and most of the time I haven't seen. And so now people are struggling with, what's the future hold, and what do I do, specifically for renters. I think, to your point, right? Some people had to rent because they couldn't get their hands on a house. Some people are contemplating, should I rent, because they're concerned about, where's the bottom, is now a good time to buy. I have that conversation with people all the time, and I have my opinions and strategies and pros and cons on it. What's your feeling for people now that, because the market has softened a little bit, and sometimes I tell people higher interest rates are a buyer's temporary best friend because it gives them an opportunity, right? If somebody's paying $3,000 in rent and they're considering, should I get in this market now or should I wait? What are you telling clients? What are you seeing on a rent versus buy situation?
So if I have to break this down to people like almost daily, because it's a huge conversation we're all having to have all the time. And I wish I could record myself sometimes and just say, here, just listen to this for 5 minutes. Yeah. Talk about this daily. But the biggest thing for me is I have a really good personal life story about owning real estate versus renting. We bought real estate really early in our lives. Like my wife and I bought our first house. I was maybe 22 and she was 19. And we just decided, let's take the leap, because this, of course, back then the house that we were looking at was $178,000 and it was new construction in Allen, Texas. So you look back at that and you're like, good Lord, what has changed? But, we figured the issue for us was, what is it going to cost us to rent something nice versus what it's going to cost us to buy something? And the areas that we focus in, which is M Streets, Lakewood, Preston Hollow, Park Cities, the rents are super expensive. Right. Not just expensive, super expensive. Like the pricing that you look at and you think, why would you pay that? That's the question in everybody's head. So if you can buy, like you just said, you're looking at this you're going to rent something for 12 to 24 months until you think that the rates are going to go down or something's going to change enough to where you say, I'm going to get back in the market to buy. Right. So let's say you just keep it in that $3,000 to $4,000 range a month. Times that by 24 months. We're talking about $80,000, $90,000 that you're going to it's gone. And that's the biggest thing that I think most people really need to kind of look at it as. You maybe made a comfortable decision, but you also just lost a lot of money. Sure. You could have put that money into a house that maybe you don't love, but you could afford it enough to not rent, because who loves the house that they're renting? Right. Not many people. Sure. They're like, okay, well, this is $3,000 a month. We can handle this for a couple of years. Right. But most of the time when you're looking at buying, you're going to be looking around enough and being picky enough to where you like what you're buying, probably more than what you'd be renting. And then you're also gaining equity. And then you also know how this market is. This market continues to raise. We haven't seen these gigantic discounts that people are predicting to happen around our area. I know. Nobody's discounting their houses that much. There may be a little bit of discount out there, but there's nowhere that you're like, oh my God, I'm getting 20% off this price. That just doesn't exist. Sure. So, that's the biggest thing for me is it's building wealth along with owning a property and not just renting. So, when you look at the longer people own property, the more money they're going to make. The only way anybody loses any money in real estate is if they sell in a down market. And that is usually forced. If they're behind on their mortgage, if they're about to go under, they have to sell. But I can promise you that if they sell, they probably still had equity in that house. And if you don't pay your rent in a down market, you're going to be out in 30 days and with nothing. Yeah. So at least something would come about that typically, because I've been through that market, like you said. The 2008, 2009, 2010, I worked with a lot of people that were underwater on their houses, but we got them out of it. And most of them really didn't have to pay to get out of it. They still had a little equity. I did have a few people that definitely lost money and they had to write a check to close, but they didn't foreclose. Right. They didn't put themselves in a position to not buy another house for 4 or 5 years. Right. So, that's the daily conversation. I think most people have to realize the rates are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to fluctuate. If you get something that's affordable enough that's similar to your rent, it makes sense. Bottom line. Right. Right. Well, I think that's good advice too, because, I think people right now, they have to figure out, hey, I want to wait and buy. The key is buying and waiting.
And that's how you make money, right? So you can never time it perfectly. You time it where you think you can, you get in. And the key to it is the ROI long term. I also think renters, get a little bit confused because I think they can be a little bit more small minded to your point on what's the rent payment versus the mortgage. And there's so much more to it, right? There's, you're paying a mortgage when you're renting, you're just not paying your own. To your point, that's not a long term way to create wealth. Texas, especially Dallas, on average, homes appreciate at 4 or 5% a year. So if you get a $500,000 home and you stand it for 3 years, you make 75 grand just off the appreciation.
Easy numbers.
Pay down a little bit of the note. Plus, what people don't understand is sometimes you get tax deductions on the mortgage, the interest, so you get money back on your money. So the net on the payment is actually less than what it is when you're actually paying rents. And I also think there's people that have to understand that, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there's old school Dallas and there's new school Dallas. And what I mean is sometimes it was okay for people to rent financially because you could get a deal on rent and save 50% of it. Now, new school Dallas, meaning the population is growing so much.
So fast.
And the demand is so high that the alternative and the financial relief of renting really isn't there.
Yeah.
And so you can't have a
100%.
$4,000 mortgage and a $1,500 apartment. It's not like that anymore. The apartment's $3 grand, the mortgage is 33. But on the net, the ROI and all that, it's really, really important. I think people need to figure that out. And so, talking to what you're saying, like, well, how come if rates are at 7%, how come there's still multiple offers? How come prices are still going up? And I'm going to spend a little time on that. And I say what everybody has to pay attention to in this market is really it's localized. And there are a couple great states and a couple great cities right now that are just booming because economically they're great, politically they're great, great sports town, great weather, everything, and people are moving here by the herds. And so when there's way more people and there's way more houses, you can't put everybody into a place to rent. You got to buy a house. And I posted something online the other day that the United States is almost 7 million houses short right now, and that's just simple economic supply and demand, especially in a city that's booming, which is why we haven't seen necessarily as much of the price cuts, as much as the dip. I think some other places, yes, of course, it's happened, but not here specifically in Dallas because a lot of eyeballs are on it and it's growing quickly. And so if you look back and you talk about home prices and values, like let's look 12 months ago, let's look right now, and let's look at 12 months in the future, because this is also where people are trying to make the decision. Maybe financially it's okay here and there, but they're trying to make sure that, hey, are things going to go up? Are they going to go down? So, a year ago, obviously prices were booming a little bit more because of the actual rates, and they've settled, but it's not a big haircut. Right now, they're probably 90% of what they were. But real estate, like stocks, over time, it goes up, right? So people don't have to be concerned. You're not going to buy it today and sell it tomorrow. There might be a little bit of a correction, but it's so short term because of the population and the demand. I feel like the prices are going to stay pretty stable. What's your thoughts on heading into 24? I'm going to give mine about the direction and home prices and where they're heading. But if somebody was asking you today, hey, 1 year from now, this house in Dallas, what do you think it'll be worth? Do you think it'll be up, down, stable? What's your feel on that?
Well, let's just say worst case scenario, the rates don't do anything for the better in the next 12 months. And from everything I'm reading and everything I'm seeing, the speculation that the rates are going to either go up or down is still across the board 50-50 in the middle. So let's just say it's on par with what it is right now. I feel like you're still going to be in a net positive quite a bit from 2023 to 2024 if you can find a house that you're not overpaying for right now. Let's just say you find something that's comps. Let's go back to comps real quick.
Okay.
Comparable sales back in 2021, nobody cared. Right? Nobody was even looking at it as a standpoint of like, what's the house really worth, Damon? That was a rare conversation. Most of the time people were saying, what's it going to take to get that house?
Right.
And I'd say, let's find out. And, of course, we find out on some, and other ones you're just like, wow, that's crazy. But if you look back at the comps, like comps are actually pretty in line right now.
Right.
Like I'm not seeing anything out there lately that is like, wow, they've got this massively overpriced. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people pricing them pretty normal to what the comps are. And also it's funny because you will see some of those, like on the comparable sales in the last 12 months when you're going back to try to look at something in the same neighborhood and the same square footage and all this. And you go back and there's a spot on here that says list price. Then there's a spot that says sale price. And some of those sales prices versus list prices are like that.
Right.
And you're just like, man, I still can't believe it. I mean, you've been around this. I mean, we met pretty close when we first got in this industry together. And, looking back at how this market was that we just came out of is still shocking.
Right.
I mean, because, we're still looking at like that data, and that data is pretty wild. But to answer your question, if things go in a normal fashion the way we are right now, I feel like we're going to be just fine. I don't think there's going to be any issues. And like what you pointed out earlier, relocation right now is insane. I at least 30% of my business is relocation, probably more.
I agree.
I mean, everybody that I'm talking to that's coming in a buy standpoint in the areas that I like to work, either somebody just relocated recently and they're coming as well, and it's a referral. Like my dad just bought, I'm the daughter, I want to buy in the same area, or my dad just bought in the Park Cities, I want to be in the M streets close to them. So I'll see a lot of that. I'll see people that literally just reach out and say, here's our areas that we're interested in, these three, what can I get for this price? I mean, that is a big part of it. And I know in the grand scheme of things around Dallas, I see a lot of buyers and sellers, but I'm assuming a lot of other agents are seeing the exact same stuff that I'm seeing. So the relocation here in Texas is wild, and that's probably why we're in the position that we are, that we're not being affected like some other parts of the country. And, take this with a grain of salt. This is an affluent area.
Right.
I mean, people don't have a shortage of money around these areas that we're working. So I equate that to part of it, like it definitely affects some people more than others on an interest rate. But when you're looking at $1 million at a 3% rate and $1 million at a 6% rate, it absolutely costs you more on a monthly basis. But is it enough for you to decide not to purchase a house? And that's per the buyer's own decision. That's their choice of what they're going to do. But the rent versus own aspect of it, I think, is just, going back to that is it's a no-brainer still. If Powell does increase the rates multiple times in the next 12 months, then I think we'll probably have a more impactful shift.
Right.
We're right around that high 5s, low 6, right now. So I think we're still in a range where like people are like, it's not terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible.
Right.
So like I think if it gets to terrible,
right,
then we may see a little bit more of a drastic change.
The thing about that is that as it continues to get worse overall economically with inflation and costs and stuff here and there, what's happening though too is human beings and businesses are looking for more opportunities to relocate to put themselves in a better position.
Right.
So outside of the people, I mean, if you just go back in the past 18 months, there are so many businesses that came here that are continuing to come here, business friendly. So what that does, it draws more attention, more workers, more employees, more people, more demand, and all that. And so, this time the following year, I think things are still going to be increasing because of the population push. I mean, you stuff so many people into a city, they've got to go somewhere, and they've got to live, right? And I tell people, look, if people want to rent for a few years here and there, just tell me how much and how and where, and I'll buy a rental and I'll stick you in it, and you can pay my note.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to that piece too that, interest rates, yes, they are higher than what people want, but it does give buyers the opportunity to at least get a house where they couldn't before. I think also one of the things I'm seeing, you probably are as well, is some of these people who missed out last time during the COVID run, they're fine taking a 6.5 rate, knowing that this is going to be temporary because rates follow inflation. They're going to come down naturally. They may start coming down in 5 or 6 months. It might take 12 or 13, but they'll come down with inflation. And all you have to do is refinance. You can trade out the rate. You can date the rate and get rid of it, right? But you can't do that with the house. And people realize they don't want to miss out on the opportunity again, because I tell everybody, imagine if interest rates switched to 4.99% tomorrow.
It would be a gangbusters.
It would be over again.
Yeah.
And I don't think people
we don't
want to
have
go
the inventory to deal with that right now.
People don't want to go through that again. So what
Yeah.
they're saying is, let me take what I can get, even though it's stable and it's okay. Get a place for myself, get a place for my family, make probably 12 payments here and there. I'll switch it out, get a 5%, a 4.99 in a year from now. That's my long-term fixed game, but I'm in my house. I'm secure. I'm going to make money on the upswing when the demand happens. Meanwhile, everybody else is going to be like the wild, wild west, running around overpaying again. And that's why I think the trend is going to continue to move up because of the population surge and the demand with the people, because, people are trying to find more opportunities. There's just nowhere to go. Plus, with interest rates going up, I mean, in the past 6 months, I think it was something like 55% of new construction permits are down. So because the builders are not booming and there's new construction everywhere, it shrunk down that pot of houses available. So now there's probably 30% as much available. So it's turning all the buyers to the existings, and that's pushing the market up as well.
Yeah, and I honestly think that builder side of thing is a little skewed too, because it's not that builders are scaling back. It's that builders are having a hell of a hard time finding land deals.
Yeah,
Like
that's
land
true.
deals that are actually good land deals that like have been around for years. Like we don't have those land deals anymore. We're getting so far pushed out outside of DFW for land, the deals just aren't there anymore where they think that they can make money.
Right.
So the ones that they do come up, because I know a bunch of land guys and I know like several builders that I worked with in the past, and they're just like if the right deal comes along, we're going to buy it and we're going to start permitting, we're going to start building. But
Right.
the right deals aren't out there right now in a lot of these areas.
Right.
I mean, think how far out you have to go right now, which this universal thing in Frisco actually may help with this because you can push back further than Frisco
Right.
and Prosper and Salina and whatever. But the issue is that some of those are getting so far out there that really there's no job opportunity that they can't drive to that's less than 45 minutes.
Right.
So then you say, okay, well, how much is new construction really worth to your mind? Like, is that 45-minute drive worth it for new construction?
Sure.
Or do you just buy a pre-owned that's around the same price?
Right.
That's on a damn nice house in a nice neighborhood.
Right.
That's still out there all over the place.
Right.
So that's the issue, and I think that's why you're seeing some of this stuff say, oh, well, builders' permits are pulled back. Well, yeah, I mean, because it's supply and demand. Again, they don't have the land.
Right. And they're trying to make it happen out there with the PGA and everything else.
Absolutely.
But even if they
Wait
do,
till that opens for permits.
Right. Correct.
It'll be crazy.
Correct, but that's still 3, 4, 5 years away
That's right.
before they get things out there and people can get there. And I don't think people are going to want to wait that long to let it develop and fully get there. And so they're having to, consider what's available now. I mean, there's so many big announcements that are going on right now. That's why I think Dallas is just in a great spot. Speaking of big announcements, dude, I want you to share with everybody, brother, you have a big announcement. You launched the agency Dallas a few weeks ago, opened your brokerage, brought your super team, doing your own thing. So I want you to share with everybody, what does that look like, right? What is the agency Dallas? Why'd you do it? What's the reason? What's the vision? What do you see for yourself and your crew and for the people that you're trying to obviously bring on board?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for being a part of it. Like, you have been amazing, and I appreciate everything you've done. We all appreciate everything that you've done to help, kind of get the mortgage side of it in line for everything.
Of course, man. It's fun.
But yeah, to answer your questions, start off. So the agency was based out of California. Okay. Beverly Hills is where it started. Mauricio Umansky, which is the husband to Kyle Richards. It's on those housewife shows. And
yeah.
They did a Netflix show called Buying Beverly Hills, which, kind of all this started. But the funny thing is that Mauricio started the company in the bust, 2008, 2009. He kind of was one of those opportunistic mindsets in that situation. Like, he's like, what can I do differently than everybody else right now? Because right now all these realtors are panicking and saying like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So he started advertising.
Right.
He's like, oh, I'm going to start spending money. And a lot of realtors just were not doing that. They were kind of hunkering down and just, well, hopefully this passes over soon, kind of thing. But he started advertising and became the #1 realtor in California.
Wow.
Then he became the #3 realtor in the United States because he continued that path of just expansion. So when he opened up the agency, he did it as a corporate level, so he was the one that kind of did it, and him and his partner did it together. And then they opened up a few more, all successful. And then they expanded the franchise. So the franchise now has 70 offices globally, actually. They're in areas outside of the United States. But here in the United States, they are, I think we were 68 on the list. There's been 2 or 3 that have opened up after us since even January when we launched. I was a little hesitant to get involved in a brokerage because I was, my team and I were doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Like just no issues whatsoever. Like in the last 2 years combined, $200 million in volume. I mean, it was crazy. And there's only 5 of us. So like the market, we're just doing great. Everything's wonderful. And then I get this call, that says, hey, how about you and your wife open up the agency in Dallas?
Wow.
And we're like thinking, I mean, we know it. We know what it is. And we're thinking, probably not. We got a lot on our plate right now with real estate. It's a lot to take on. But we kind of were open to the idea because, we were talking about at some point opening a brokerage.
Okay.
You like at some point in your real estate career, you're like, am I going to do it myself or am I going to work for a broker for the rest of my career? So we kind of said, let's give it a second and really think about it.
Okay.
So we started flying to other agency offices around the United States that have recently opened, talked to the owners, and it was amazing, like family atmosphere and culture, open arms.
Right.
We'll tell you everything that we did. We'll give you all the tools that you need to do it yourself. So we kind of, we started thinking more and more to the yes, we're going to do this. And, we talked to Mauricio directly and we met him in person. And, he's got that positive, everything's great, attitude about it, which is why he's so successful. I think you got to be positive in these situations, no matter what's going on for real estate, because it's going to get better. I mean, real estate's just like anything else. It's a roller coaster. Even on transactions, it's a roller coaster.
Right.
Everything's going real good. Oh, bad inspection.
Right.
So like that's kind of how it is with the opening a business. We decided to do it. We're going to do it all by ourselves. So I ended up taking the broker's exam, which was not easy.
Right.
I thought it was going to be easier because the first time we did real estate exam, it was easy.
Right.
I was like, passed the first time, no problem, barely studied. This time I was like, man, this is a lot more. So I did pass it, unfortunately, and then we went to the route of like, where are we going to get an office? Where are we going to do how are we going to start recruiting agents? And so the one thing that I think really kind of put us over the edge of saying let's do this,
right,
is that we're in a very boutique-y kind of atmosphere here in Dallas with real estate companies. There's not a lot of successful Keller Williams, Coldwell Bankers, Ebbies. Not in Dallas.
Sure.
Like outside of Dallas, Plano, Frisco's of the area, there's that. And here, there are the Briggs, the Ally Beths, the Dave Perry Miller, and Compass, which is where we came from. And, we had a great experience at Compass. I have nothing negative to say about Compass. However, where we figured something like this would work is giving a smaller, upper scale brokerage.
Okay.
The amount of agents that are at some of these offices, let me clarify real quick. Compass, I left 660 agents in that office.
Wow.
Ally Beth, 400 plus. Briggs, 400 plus. So you can imagine what if you're not in this top tier level of your business.
Sure.
Not in the top 10%, which you've got to close $100 million or whatever a year to get into the top tiers at some of these companies, and then they treat you very well. Like we were treated very well where we came from. But there's another 300 agents that aren't getting that service.
Right.
And they're good agents.
Sure.
A lot of them are good agents. So we're thinking if we open up a brokerage and we kind of have the atmosphere of good agents, 10, 20, $30 million in volume, they're not getting the red carpet rolled out to them at these other brokerages. They can't. They don't have enough personnel to do it. They don't have enough sales managers to handle all the issues that go day to day with that many agents. So we think, let's say we have 50, 60, 70 agents in our office. Everybody is getting hands-on experience. They can open up the door and walk in and ask me a question. I'm the broker sitting there. Let's discuss it right now, kind of, customer service. They get, custom marketing programs put together for them. Like we're sitting there brainstorming on marketing. You don't get that kind of stuff at those offices anymore. Like they did when they were smaller.
Sure.
I mean, but they grow too big too quick. And it comes in to be like, well, now you're just a number that's hung your license with whoever and good luck.
Right.
Go out there, good luck. Hopefully you produce for us and we'll see you. Hey, call me if you have a question.
Right. That's become the status quo.
Yeah.
The market's growing quickly, technology changing. You've mentioned, obviously, kind of your vision and your idea for your growth program and the realtors and things here and there. And so for you, this specifically is not a come one, come all to say, I want to have, 50 or so or whatever it is, ideal agents from 10 million to 30, 40, 50 that are all hands on deck, growing them, helping them get teams, showing them how to generate leads, showing them how to do social, all these things. So it feels a little bit more intimate and high level. Is that what you're saying? Like the idea person that you're trying to recruit is?
Well, so we want to help agents scale.
Okay.
We've had a lot of agents reach out to us and obviously everybody's not a fit because we're not Keller Williams and we're not going to take, nothing against Keller Williams.
Yeah.
But we're not going to take agents that just got their license.
Right.
And they need us to train them on how to sell a house.
Right.
But we don't have the capacity. No, a lot of companies don't have that capacity. except for some that modeled it that way. And that's what those models are for Keller Williams and other companies. So what we are really interviewing and recruiting are the people that are already running a good business. They know how to do it, and they have potential to do more, but they don't know how to do that.
Right.
That's what we're doing to help that. We're increasing their marketing power. We're increasing getting them in front of more people. We're really getting them to excel on trying to fine tune how they do what they do.
Got it.
And for us to do that, we have the capacity to do it because we have salaried employees that are literally hired for that reason.
Right.
Agent experience managers, full-time marketing people that are literally sitting there doing nothing but campaigns for agents that we hire on. And that's just not, that model isn't out there right now, really. It really isn't.
Right.
Like if you ask anybody that we're talking to and all these different brokers that we're hearing from, they're not getting that out there. And it's kind of surprising because it's so basic to think like a broker is going to assist somebody in getting more business because everybody wins, right? The broker wins, the agent wins. It seems like a simple solution, but if you have too many agents that you're managing and you don't have the staff to do it, it gets lost in translation. And that's the problem that we keep hearing over and over again and why agents are calling us.
Sure.
Because the model is a smaller boutique luxury brokerage. Sure. And with that model, it works to keep your agents happy and keep your agents trying to scale their business. If we can take somebody from 10 million a year to 30 million a year, or even 20 million a year, or even 15 million a year, all those numbers make sense for us to help and do this. And like I said, I mean, everybody that we're talking to that we have been signing on, the potential is so evident. Like they are just, you're looking at these people that are doing great. They just need help. Yeah. And some of them are fairly, young in the business, 2-3 years, but they're already doing $10 million in volume. It's great. Yeah. So, that kind of stuff is really where this all started. And I think that we're just at that point right now in our careers. Like, I don't need to be a $300 million a year agent. I don't need to continue just to try to just, I guess you could say real estate yourself to death. Right. I think at this point right now, we can just, help other people and expand the brokerage as much as we can, try to keep everybody happy, keep agent retention. That's a big part of the business right now is who we hire on, we want to try to keep them happy so they're going to stay with us. And that's what it is. And, it's a great model, and we've seen it firsthand working in other areas of the country, and not even just working, like doing really well. Like, some of the agents that work for the agency are on the $1 million listing shows. Right. And they will, the funny thing is like you always see things on TV and you're always like thinking, they're probably not going to be like that in real life. Some of the guys that you meet in person are exactly like they are on TV. They're super nice. I mean, you walk up to them, shake their hand, cordial, humble, and they're doing $300-400 million a year in volume. Right. Crushing it. And you just think like, you see that stuff in some of these other brokerages, and those agents don't even want to give you the time of day sometimes, and you just you hear different things about them and all that. So, I think that's a big part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep it to where everybody's humble, everybody's happy, everybody's producing, and it's a collaborative atmosphere.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's more of a quality over quantity thing.
Bingo.
That's the vision. I think, specifically in this market right now, agents are open to that opportunity because they need that help. But also, in the last 2 or 3 years with the COVID run, I mean, all the leads and all the fish were jumping in the boat. Now it's dried up and they maybe don't know how. And what they need is they need some help, right? And
they need the basics. Right. I mean, they really do. They need the things that you learn. If you're a top producing agent, you learn it over the years. Right. But it's hard to learn it and implement it and then really make sure that what you're doing on a daily basis is your best use of time. Like there's still a lot of agents out there that, even just having a transaction coordinator would free up so much of their time. Right. But they don't want to take that smaller expense on to, think like, well, I can't afford it. Well, you can, because if you take on a small time assistant or a transaction coordinator or a marketing person that can sit there and help you with things, it frees up so much of their time that they're sitting at home punching away at the computer. Like one guy that just joined us, great potential, already doing $12 million. He's had his license for 2 years. And he's at night from the hours that he puts his daughter to bed, from 7 o'clock till like 9:30 at night. he's following up on amendments and writing offers, and then also doing some social media stuff. And that really should be the time where he kind of hangs his hat for the day, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the problem with, I think, a lot of agents that are, you know, they're like, well, I'm doing pretty good. I want to do better. So I'm just going to put all that on myself. And that's not really what they need to be doing. They need to be utilizing their time as selling.
Sure.
That's it.
Sure.
Marketing and TC stuff should be somebody else. The sooner somebody realizes that, the sooner they can get out there and get more listings and more buyers, the sooner they can scale themselves.
Right.
It's simple, but a lot of the times people can't let that aspect of it go.
Well, or maybe they don't have the leadership or the blueprint, right? And they don't
Bingo.
understand that. And you're really teaching people how to be a good business person, whether you're a lender, whether you're an agent. You're saying, hey, this is how actual business is run. The highest and best of your use of your time is X. I know it feels weird, sounds weird. It costs you money for the TC, but it doesn't really cost you money for that. What's it cost you not to do it?
Absolutely.
And then even if people, you know, get it from, you know, conceptually, right? Well, how do I put it in play? And I've got 10 questions. What about this? You're coming along as a helping hand and saying, hey, here's the blueprint and some, you know, this is what we're creating here. This is what we want to do. And then they have evidence of success from everybody around them doing the exact same thing. And so it's not foreign. And so they don't have so much, you know, fear of something going wrong or not knowing how to do it or the control piece here and there. And so being able to show them that, especially in an industry that's behind in times and all that stuff, but also in a market right now that's cooled off and people are looking for help, looking at somebody like you, obviously, who's been doing
And
it
you.
successfully
You're
forever.
you're the king of putting these systems in place.
You know, I learned everything from pain. That's
Did
it.
you?
That's it. I learned everything from pain. I'm like, I don't want this to happen again.
Yeah.
How do I put something in play
My
to
life
protect it? And then
needs
later
less
on,
pain.
yeah, and then later on, it becomes about the client and the partner, which is, you know, how can I give them a white glove 5-star experience?
Right.
Right. And mortgages and buying a house, you know, sometimes it goes sideways. People don't love it and they never want to do it again. They get to the finish line. They're like, I don't want to do all that. And so I think, look,
stressful
you know,
sometimes.
It's the biggest deal of their life ever. And it's got to be better. And we have to be better. And so it's admirable that you're doing this, that you started the agency in Dallas. You do have a physical big office that you open that's either ready or almost
right.
ready, right?
It's 8111 Preston Road,
Okay.
and we are on the 7th floor.
Wow.
3,300 square feet, brand new. It looks amazing. We're actually furnishing it right now, literally getting deliveries today. And the thing that we like the most about it, though, you got the open floor plan, you got the offices, you've got downtown views that are unobstructed. Natural light comes in. That was the reason I think that we were most excited about that location. And it's, you know, it's University Park, so
Yeah.
it's still like kind of like right in our stomping ground. So we're excited. I mean, we really, from where we started, even though it hasn't been that long, but 5 months ago when we started doing this and just learning all the back part of this whole thing, getting our, you know, systems in place, learning the processes and procedures, you know, it's been an amazing little journey. And we're going to do our launch for the official launch of the office and like clients and agents and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
in September.
Wow.
So yeah, it's gonna be great. We did our virtual launch in January. We still have the office kind of being completed. So now we're in full mode right now.
Wow,
It's
that's
great.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to stay on the agency thing for a sec because obviously, you know, I want people to obviously be able to hear and understand it. But you know, one of the things that I think that's great about you opening an office too is culture. I mean, you know, COVID for the most part is gone. People need to be in belly to belly, shaking hands, getting real help. Right? It's very hard to do that from the house. Very hard to do that from Zoom. So the fact that you're committing to this and going all in and putting together a great space in a great place with all these resources and tools, I think it encourages people to come in every day and sit down with he or she that's a producer and break bread and have conversations and scale their stuff. I think that's really, really admirable. And I think people are looking for all of that, which is really, really good.
Yeah. Literally everybody we're talking to wants the atmosphere
Correct.
of an office.
Right.
Like that's literally like one of the things that we keep hearing over and over and over again. And you know, a lot of the brokerages have lost that.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's not a necessity
Sure.
for some agents, but
Right.
a lot of the agents that do focus very heavily on their career, they want an office
Sure.
to go sit down, have a collaboration. Motion creates,
Sure.
you know, the actual mindset of like they're doing something next door to me. Oh, it sounds like they're wrapping up a deal. I need to get a deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's very similar when people go to a gym. I mean, they're in the atmosphere and everybody's in it and they're working out and you can feel the energy. When you put yourself in the environment, you have nowhere to go but just go and do what the rest of the folks are doing. So
Absolutely.
it's really good for the agents. I think it shortens the learning curve. But also, when people want to display to their clients or their partners and say, hey, this is who I work with, and before you come by the office and hang out, it means a lot. It's very impactful.
That's another thing. Like if you do want to bring a client to the office or do a closing in the conference room or something,
Right.
That's like all there now.
Right.
And that wasn't there for a while. And a lot of title companies are not in the most convenient spot to go do it.
Sure.
So we kind of like set that up to where like we're going to have the title people come to us,
Right.
close it in our office, have the buyers there, have the sellers there, have the agent there, take a picture,
Yeah.
tell them congratulations, all that
Sure.
stuff right there. And it's exciting. I mean, it's more than exciting. I feel like it was meant for us to be involved in this, and we're very thankful. We're thankful. We look back on it now, and we're like, thank you. You know, really.
It's good. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be great, man. You guys are going to blow up and bring something new to the market. I think the space in the area is good. I think the idea and the vision's good. I think a lot of agents out there need new school something, right? They need video, they need playbooks, they need help, they need
Yes.
hands-on. So since you're doing that boutique style, especially with a quality piece, I think it'll be very attractive and a lot of folks will check you out. Talk to me a little bit. I mean, you've been doing this for so long, right? I know when I talk to realtors every now and then, they're struggling in this market a lot with
Say so long. I
lead
feel like
gen.
we're all old now, Brian.
I feel like I haven't even hit my peak. I feel like I'm Brady 10 years ago and I'm still going. So as long as I'm having
When's
fun.
Brian retiring? Never.
Never.
Yeah.
I don't want to retire because I want to have fun, but you get to a point like you where it doesn't become about the transaction. It becomes about the vision and paying it forward, and I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And it's fun, but I also feel like, I owe it to people, right? People help me. I want to help them. And also I do think, and especially on my side too, it's like, stuff's broken. There's a lot of good people out there that could be great mortgage people or lenders, but the leadership is bad and it's archaic. And so, you find something like this and you can help not only your clients and partners, but this LO and then this branch and this company here and there. And so I have that desire to break the status quo. It's fun, right? It's just how many more Super Bowls can we win?
Yeah.
And that deal from a legacy standpoint for myself, but also for others. And that part is where it becomes fun for me.
Well, you're the type of person that I think you're one of the pieces of the puzzle that we're very thankful for. So
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with everything that you've been doing out there and how you run your business. And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you. I really only reached out to you. I didn't reach out to anybody else. I said, Brian's going to be the one. I know it. And, our meeting went great. And I was very thrilled that we had such a strong partner for that side of it, because we obviously want our clients taken care of well. Mm-hmm. And we want our agents to feel comfortable with a good referral to a partner that is going to take it, and then they're just going to be like, it's done.
Sure.
Like, don't worry about anything else. I got it.
Right. And I appreciate
That's
that. That's part of what I've built and what our team is doing, and we're continuing to get better on the loan side. But the reciprocity side, how do we give referrals back? How do we help agents show how to call past clients? Everything under the sun we discussed, that we can help them grow and scale and make more money and have a better life. And I think that's important for both sides.
Yeah.
And that's what a
Absolutely.
partnership really is.
Yeah.
Agents are struggling in this market right now, I think, the most with lead gen. When you're talking to your team, other people that you're recruiting, what are the 2 or 3 things that you're finding the agents are struggling with the most right now?
Well, one of the things that I've really been impressed with on some of the younger agents that have been coming into the business and are doing well, is the social media aspect of it is not easy to master.
Right.
It's really difficult to get any kind of traction in it, because there's, I don't want to offend anybody here that we're talking to about influencers and all this stuff.
Sure.
But we
can be real with respect.
Look, a lot of people feel like they're influencers on social media just because that they're promoting a product or doing one thing or another. It's really hard to be in an industry that you're in sales, in essence, but you're also trying to give people quality content, not just walking through a house of a pretty house and videoing it and putting it on the internet. You may get some clicks and some likes.
Sure.
But I think a lot of agents that are doing well are also showing the houses but educating at the same time. Because there's, the younger buyers that are out there, which I'm still working with a ton of younger buyers, like, mid-20s.
Yeah.
I mean, first, a lot of single female girls buy a lot of houses. I'd say probably 5 to 1 to dudes. And it's interesting because they have that.
Ladies, you don't need a man anymore.
Exactly.
We're not going to try to beat you. We're going to join you. Call Damon. You're all good.
The level of their responsibility
Sure.
versus some of the guys that are the same age is shocking sometimes because they're just like, hey, three of us live in a place. We just need some 500 piece.
Right.
It's like, but you got the single girls out there that are looking at, I'm buying my first house, $500,000 or $600,000 in a good area, and I'm like, I'm impressed because that's how my mindset was. I want to get into a house as early as I can, and we did, young. But the younger agents out there that really know the social media aspect of it is a big lean gen for them. Because there's so many people that are always looking on it, and if it's coming across their feed and then somebody is catching them with a nice catching phrase or something about a house that's interesting or giving them some basic education about starting the process, they're getting leads from it. People are reaching out. Like one guy that we recruited not too long ago is like, he's great at it. He just stands there, talks for a minute, shows a house, and he said he gets at least 2 to 3 contacts a week out of that.
Wow.
And it's simple.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes it look simple. It's not simple. Getting comfortable in front of a camera is not simple. But you're better at it than I am. But like that aspect of it, I think, is a huge thing that's not going to stop anytime soon.
Okay.
So you can pay for leads.
Sure.
Doing something for free to lead gen is almost impossible outside of social media. I mean, you really have to either be door knocking and asking people if they want a free CMA to see what the houses in the neighborhood are selling for, or you can do online social media and try to sell yourself as somebody that's not only an educator but also can help you through the process of buying a house. So, for us, we're just trying to fit the right people in the right piece. You can always do flyers to a neighborhood, you can always do mailers, you can always do all that kind of stuff, like the basics. But the real uncomfortable situation is social media for a lot of real estate agents because it's tough.
Yeah.
And it's a time-consuming thing.
Yeah.
If I was going to do one video a day, it would probably take me more than an hour in drive time, filming, and editing every day. So that's not, if you don't have a lot of time on your hands to just go out and prospect, like some agents do, some agents don't, it's a job on its own.
Right.
I mean, you do a great job with it. I mean, I'm really impressed how you can run yours. But that's, I think, what the market is going to probably evolve to a little bit more. I think it's running its good stride right now.
Sure.
But the people that can do it right now, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a challenge that people face is the social and the video piece. They struggle with, how to do it, what to say, time consuming here and there. The takeaway for me on that, I tell people, like, if you're too busy to shoot video, it's the number one reason you should shoot video.
No, exactly.
For me specifically, it compounds my time. To your point, people think, it's going to take me this long here and there. And so the little secret about video, I'll give everybody a little bite on this, is when you are doing video and you want to start video, what you don't do is you don't start today. What you say is, hey, my launch date for video is going to be in 60 days. What I'm going to do between now and then is I'm going to shoot 10 videos. I'm going to put together 10 graphics. So I've got it stored away and all taken care of and done. And then you launch on that day. And then you have a schedule, Monday, Wednesday, video, Tuesday, Thursday. So what happens is that you're consistent. There's a variety. And then as an agent or a lender, you just work your daily and weekly videos into the equation every day, just like you would a showing or a phone call here and there. And so you dump 2 or 3, you fill 2 or 3 here and there. And then what you realize is that a lot of things don't have to be professionally edited. You can do them from your iPhone and a quick tip here and there. But I think agents run out of yes, I got to be consistent. Yeah, there's got to be a variety, but they're starting raw in real time and they fall behind.
Is so important.
Right. So instead of doing that, give yourself a head start. Pre-shoot all this stuff, pre-shoot all the graphics, then integrate it into your business and start flipping it. So what happens is you've got 2 months worth of content if you absolutely did nothing. Then what happens when you have that much is you can work it in your schedule. You never have anxiety. You can shoot it like you want to, be intentional and clean, and you never feel like you're running out of gas because you've got so much, and you just fill up the bucket. And then over time, you start incorporating it into everything, and you can do 2 or 3 a week, no time. Easy. Takes you an hour.
You just run in the closet real quick, change, come back out. It's a new day.
That's it. That's it.
And filmed 15 minutes
it's literally one of the reasons why, for the people that are watching, we have a podcast room, but this is actually in our office, and we've got 2 other rooms that are YouTube rooms and real rooms, and we set them up that way because it's time management. People don't want to drive across town, change clothes, things here and there. So for us and for me and for partners or whatever, I can just pop across the hall, shoot a 10-minute YouTube, do it on a Saturday, shoot a couple reels here and there, and what happens is you can pick up the pace Delegation shortcut all of that quickly so it doesn't eat time. But to your point earlier, you said, I say the same thing all the time. I wish I had like a 5-minute video stuff here and there. It's literally the reason I started the YouTube channel for education. But you know how many times people talk about the state of the market, 3, 2, 1 buy downs, blah, blah, blah. I literally shoot the video and I just said, hey, here's the deal. And so for the folks out there, and I know you mentioned this is part of what you're going to try to set up at the agency, which is the digital and the brand and the video to help people compound their brand and kind of set the same thing up because it's so important. But I tell people, you don't have to start today. Your idea starts today. You get a launch date, and then you do everything in between. Fill up the bucket so you're ahead of the curve. And then as you distribute that stuff over time, you just fill it in here and there. And that way you're consistent. And everything doesn't need to be professional. You'll find that people want to see you walking down the street with your dog, giving them an educational tip here and there. And so it's more like, you have a good runway after that. As long as you don't literally not do anything for a month or two, you can keep it going.
I've got a question for you on the loan side before we wrap.
Yeah, for sure.
The 3, 2, 1 buy downs that you just mentioned, the 2, 1 buy downs, the adjustable rates. How often are you guys seeing those as not only just a request, but this is what I want to do from buyers right now?
I will tell you at least probably 30 to 40% of our clients are doing it.
Okay.
I'm talking to everyone about it. And the key component about this is, their interest rate buy down. So for those that are watching that don't know, there's 3 types of interest rates. There's a natural rate that you qualify for. There's a premium rate where you take a higher rate, but you get money back towards cost. And then you can get a discounted rate, which is
nobody's probably doing that right now.
No, not at all. You're getting that money from the seller.
Me up.
Yeah, no, you're getting that money from the seller. Or you can get a much lower rate than what you qualify for, but it's expensive. So the kicker is it's not smart for the buyer to pay it. But if you're going to get a deal on a house and get $20,000 off the price, don't do it that way. Get that money from the seller, you buy the rate down. Because people really just care about their payment. So if you show them, hey, rates are $699, but here's the deal, don't take $25,000 off the price. Take that $25,000 and buy your interest rate down 3%, 2% for 1, 2, or 3 years. It shrinks the payment down so much they feel great about it.
Right.
Starts them out in the right spot. It's a better use of the concession. Now they're 100% happy. And then what happens is between the time, the 3, 2, or the 1, whatever it is, interest rates are going to get better.
They should.
They're going to for sure. It follows inflation. Inflation's not going to be like this for forever. It may take a little bit longer for it to come out than we hope, but this time next year, they'll be at least 1% better. 1, for inflation, but 2, with all due respect, there's an election next year, and they've got to get some good information and some good things going to have a ticket to run on. And the easiest way to make that switch and get everything else done is by bringing rates down. People will buy, refinance cars, houses, everything else. The revenue will boom, make a lot of money, save a lot of money, people back to work. So just know that's going to happen in 24. It's just a matter of how deep and how fast, but it will happen before the election 100%.
Well, what are you seeing on fixed rates 30 years versus like 5 and 7 year arms right now as far as the difference?
Yeah. So what he's talking about is an arm, it's an adjustable rate mortgage. So it's fixed, but it's only for a short period of time, and it's usually 5 years, 7 or 10. So it's designed for people that are first-time home buyers, or maybe a doctor that comes here for 3 years, and they're like, hey, I've got a 3-year contract with Baylor. I don't need a 30-year deal. It's not a forever home. I don't need a forever loan, so you get better deals on the interest rates.
You're in it.
Yeah, so it's about 0.5% cheaper for an arm for a 5-year, and then the 7 to 10 is probably 1/4 to 3/8.
So those probably aren't worth it.
Yeah, it just depends upon the person. Yeah, but I think the 5 year is good for two reasons. One, most people that are younger are not going to keep it for that long anyhow. But 2, you have to think you might keep the home for longer than that, but you're not going to keep the loan for that long.
Yeah.
Because of the refi boom. I mean, rates.
That's true. Refi's always come into it at some point.
And the education piece for me, telling people like, hey, now's a good time to buy. Here's why. Don't worry about the rate. You got to look at the total cost of the scenario, meaning you're getting a great house at a price. You get concessions, pay for your closing costs. That saves you $10,000. Buy down the interest rate. Like, what if you take that price off the house? People just have to understand the education component, but the interest rate buy down and the concession is the key for buyers understanding how to strategically put it together right now over the next 12 to 24 months, where they can win big, start out with really low rates and payments, wait for the market to correct naturally, take the refi and get a real low rate forever, and not have to worry about getting beat out 24 months from now where they can't get a house and the house is 25% more. So it's what we see the most. A lot of people aren't aware of it, but I talk to everybody about it in every single strategy session because they're worried about rate and payment. And I say, let me show you a way to fix that. And then they go light bulb, and it's like, oh, wow.
Well, I think that's super important to even have those conversations with people because, sometimes later on people will be like, well, my lender didn't even tell me about those options.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, maybe I should use somebody else next time.
Right.
But when you're giving people the full picture
right.
and they're able to make an educated decision They're like, yeah, my lender did a great job.
And financial literacy is the most important thing when it comes to a home loan here. It's that a lot of lenders don't have it. They don't know it. They're not aware of it. And for the last 5 years, you didn't have to talk about it because rates were at 2.99.
True.
So because you didn't have to
100%.
talk about it, you weren't aware of it. But now sometimes people don't know and they're just stuck in the mud. And when I do side-by-side comparisons and tell everybody, look, if I was a buyer out there, I would be super happy if I knew what you and I knew and I saw through that lens. I'd get an $800,000 house. I'd get $30,000 in cost. I'd spend 10 grand on the closing costs, 20 grand on the rate buy down. I'd start my rate at 399 year one, 499 at year two. You'd be set. And the cool thing about a temporary buy down that people don't know is if it cost you 20 grand to buy down that rate for a few years and you refinance halfway through,
Right.
whatever unused money is there gets fully refunded back to the buyer.
That's awesome.
So if they've used 10K, they get 10K back when they refinance in their pocket to literally save money, pay off debt, get it all done. So these are these bite-sized things that are financial that are so important.
They're very important.
That buyers go, oh, wow. Plus, also, when you give full list price versus taking it off the price of the house, you protect the comps in the area.
Right.
So there's a lot of things out there that I think over time, people are starting to pick it up, but it's a really big conversation piece that I have with people that let them see this is the way to buy a house right now, and here's how to take advantage. If you want to wait until next year when rates are at 5%, great. But you're not going to be able to get a house, and it's actually not going to save you any money from a payment standpoint. Let me show you how and why. And then they start to have it, and they start to be more attractive and get on the sideline. I think the same thing is, with renters. I tell them, like, if you're stuck in a lease, pull your lease, see how much the letting fee is. $5 grand, great. Get pre-approved. He'll get you a $5,000 credit from the seller.
Easily.
The seller will pay
Yeah.
to get you out of your apartment. So
Yeah.
there are things that people have objections to mentally. They're just not aware of it. And it takes people that are skilled and experienced to understand to show them how to navigate it, to at least give them an option where maybe they're just limited on their scope of thought for at least right now.
The comfort level for renting, I think, is probably the biggest challenge for anybody that's wanting to take the step into buying.
Right.
They're doing something uncomfortable from a spot where they feel comfortable.
Right.
And realistically, they're only comfortable in their mind. Financially, they're extremely uncomfortable
Right.
in that situation. And to me, it's always like, it makes sense almost every time to buy something instead of rent.
Right.
Because I've seen it, I've lived it. The countless times over the years that I've seen how much money somebody can make in a 5-year, 3-year time frame of living in a house
Sure.
versus renting. Sometimes I'm meeting, like recently even, I'm meeting people that I sold houses to, and they're calling me up saying, let's sell and upscale. And I'm like, looking at those prices, I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
we paid $560 for this house, and we're about to relist it for $900,000
Right.
in 4 years.
Right.
That's literally what it is. So that kind of stuff to me is like, thank God.
Yeah.
You take the plunge, and you get so comfortable so quickly into a mortgage. It's uncomfortable at first to go through the whole process, and you're like, oh my God, I'm making a big decision, I'm making a big purchase. But it's no different than buying a car.
Sure.
It really isn't, except for the car doesn't appreciate.
Right.
The cars are much less. If people lease cars as opposed to buying, both of those don't really matter because you're not making any money when you're selling that
Sure.
car typically. You may get a little equity or something after you pay it down and put some money down. A house is the exact opposite. It doesn't go down 20% when you drive it off the lot. It's going up the next year 5%, 4%, 6%, 7%, depending on the area. That's all the difference of
And you get tax
making that
deductions, so you
commitment.
get money back
Well,
on
that's
your
the
money
other
for
part
a
of it, right?
mortgage.
That's
You don't
another
get it
layer.
on an auto. And I think that thing too is, people that are local in DFW, you got to pay attention to that piece. If you're wondering, like, gosh, I don't understand why 6.99 rates, how come house prices aren't dropping? It's because of demand, the city, the population, and the growth. There's a shortage on the supply, and
The
there's a growth
inventory
in the
is
city.
very low right now.
Right.
It's very low.
Right.
And I'm hoping in the next 2 to 3 months, because we are running into literally the most busiest time of the year for real estate, I'm hoping that we can get through some of the people that are looking. I'm working with so many buyers right now, and the selling side is less.
Right.
I've got 4 buyers for every 1 seller right now, and we're trying to get through this backlog of buyers. But it's tough because when one house hits the market, my updater's going off, and I've got 8 people on that same house.
Right.
I'm like, how many other agents
Right.
have that same thing going on?
Right.
It's not easy. So if we could just get some inventory out there, sellers right now, listen to me, sell your house. You will get a good price on it, I promise you.
Sure. No, there's plenty of people that are ready to buy, even at 6% rates, just because of the demand. Sellers are concerned because they have great rates on their mortgage and they're going to sell and make max dollar. But where are they going to go? But if people think it's tough now on the buy side, what do you think is going to happen when rates drop 1%?
Oh, it's
2%.
It's just basic math, man. It's
Yeah.
basic
I mean,
math.
unless you got big money and you're cool with throwing it at houses and just getting it to get it, that's up to you. But most people don't have it. So if you don't fall in that 1% category and you're looking right now and you're trying to be strategic as a buyer, get out there. I say, even if you don't get seller concessions and you got to pay, full price for the house and pay $699, fine. I tell everybody you can date the rate, right?
I like the date the rate thing.
Yeah, well, you marry the house and you date the rate. You can't give the house back. You'll give the mortgage back within 12 months. I promise you. It's a temporary thing. It'll be much easier, but strategically and long term, it's a smart thing to do because I will tell you, I do not want to be a buyer in a year plus now when rates are 5% and you have 3 or 4 times as many people coming off the sidelines. There's just not enough to go around already, and it's going to be worse even then. So that's why I think,
yeah. I mean, trust me, I don't even want the rates to drop overnight. I mean, it would literally just, I don't even know what we'd do. We'd literally have practically no inventory and everybody's wanting to buy again. Right. It would be 2021 all over again.
And also, not that people care, but I want the buyers to understand when that happens, there'll be a refinance boom. And I know that doesn't matter to buyers, but I will tell you it matters to lenders because what happens is our volume and our capacity goes up. So what happens is if we have 35% of our people come back to us and they have to refinance because they want to lower their rate by 1.5% and save money, there's only so much bandwidth that a mortgage person can take, meaning they probably won't serve you as well as fast and consult as much and get everything taken care of because their buckets are so full. Mortgage companies won't hire back as fast as they did during COVID again because it's not going to be that deep and it's not going to be that long.
And they don't know how long it's going to last.
Right, but then they also can't do a quick close. Right, and right now you can close quickly and you can make things happen and strategy. And so it's it's just something that you got to
the appraisals will get backed up again.
Right,
taking 60 days or asking for 3 times the amount of the normal amount for appraisals.
Right,
We
used to pay for rush fees all the time, and we wouldn't even charge it to the consumer. The branch would just eat it as a delta because I wanted to give the client a great experience and make sure that the agent or the partner got it back in less than 4 or 5 days. And of course, to pay anybody, it's like saying, "Hey, how much to mow my grass? $50. How much today? $80." And that's what it was because of the actual demand. So there's a lot of other layered factors out there outside of price and rate here and there. And I'm trying to educate buyers to say, down the road, it'll double or triple demand. Prices are up. Mortgage companies are going to be at capacity. The good ones will answer and work all the time the best that they can, but it's going to slow down everything. It won't feel high level. You're going to pay more. And so that's why I think 23 is still a good window.
I agree. I mean, this is going to be a good year no matter, like I said, I don't think we're going to have any real struggles whatsoever this year unless it's just purely based on economical issues that nobody can control. I mean, the rates are going to be what they are, and as long as the inventory comes in, which we're hoping, in the next few months, to kind of get through some of this backlog of all these buyers, and I know it's out there. Everybody I talk to on the real estate side of things says the same thing, that we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We just need the inventory right now. We'll get through it. That will absolutely help kind of deal with some of the market conditions that we're dealing with. And as long as Powell doesn't do anything on the rates and the negative for us, then, we'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think we got a little more of that than it should level hopefully by the summer and start, naturally coming down in the back half. If things do end up getting worse that we can't foresee historically just out there for buyers, the worse that a recession and a depression gets, mortgage rates actually follow and they come down after the fact because they have
they're trying to redo it.
They're trying to redo it. They're trying to redo it and they're trying to get more money back into the system either way. So, buyers, sellers, you're in a good position regardless. But when it does flip and rates do drop back down, it's going to be a tough run for those that haven't gotten a house yet. It's going to be hard. It's going to be more and more expensive. So I think 23 is the year to put eyeballs and consider if you're not looking at buying.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, before I get you out of here, gosh, we shared so much, dude. I appreciate the time. You're so valuable.
This is great.
I appreciate it. If people want to find you, follow you, connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So, the Instagram is theagency.dallas.
Okay.
We have a Facebook page, which is the Damon Williamson Group. My phone number is 214-325-9827. My email is damon.williamson@theagencyre.com.
Cool. Guys.
Wait, one more. The website. The website is theagencydallastx.com.
Got it. Cool. Y'all go follow him, like him, check out the website. If you guys need help, Damon's one of the best in the game. He and his team will take great care of you, and I appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah, thank you.